Hello, my YouTube friends. It's Richard, founder of Short Term Rental University and Airbnb Superhost. This is an update to a video that I filmed. Charles, please link to it up here so that if you haven't seen it, you know exactly what we're talking about and all the specifics. But in a nutshell, Airbnb, for the first time in any sort of dispute and resolution, sided with me, the host, as opposed to all of the other times where they had sided with the guest. And so I created this video with all of the details and the backstory and things that you should be doing as a host, which is basically always communicate on the platform. Not via text, not via WhatsApp, not via email, always on the platform, because that allowed Airbnb to review the entire history and then decide that I was right, and that resulted in about $20,000 being paid to me out of the guest's pocket and paid to me because I was right. I thought that was the end of the story, but if it were, I wouldn't be making this update video, would I? So, check this out. I mean, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I don't think you'll believe it either. About 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call from Airbnb customer service. This is now about 2 months after the case had been closed. And they told me that they had reviewed it again because the guest had called in and they were siding with the guest. And they were going to take $19,000 and some odd dollars out of my account. And so I rarely get animated and livid and infuriated, but believe you me, that phone call, it's recorded on Airbnb. It should go down in history. I was absolutely beside myself. How in the world can you side with me, pay me the money, and then take it back? And I started asking questions. I said, I'd like to speak to a supervisor. What is the supervisor's name? And as a side note, I actually took money out of my account and I moved it. So should Airbnb try to take the money back, there wouldn't be any money there. But what I learned, and what would be helpful for you to know, is that they can't actually take the money out of the account. What they do is withhold against future earnings. At which point I told her I was going to take my listing off of the platform forever. And then I learned that they would eat the loss. If I did that, Airbnb would be the one who's paying back to the guest. So I said, well, that's great. You're a really fast growing company, probably growing too fast. You can afford the loss. I can't afford the loss. I'm making this, hosting arrangement to pay my mortgage and for my family, and I have responsibilities, and I can't be at the whim and mercy of you ruling in my favor and then overturning it and getting a phone call. Like, this is impossible. I'm going to take my listing off Airbnb if this is the way that you guys treat super hosts. And also, you don't put me in touch with your supervisor. I asked one really important question. Have you listened to every single recording? Because I've called in multiple times. I've given all the information, so it's all there documented. You've read the history, and have you listened to all the calls? And at that point, we made a little bit of progress. Once she realized she had not done her homework and I caught her, I was told that a supervisor would contact me. About 2 days later, I was in touch with a supervisor. I went through the whole thing with him again, asked him to listen to the entire recordings of all the tapes, and he said he would take a week to review it and then get back to me. A week went by and he called back and said, I need more time. I need a few more days. I said, I can't believe this. I don't understand what's going on here. And he apologized. And then he called me back a few days later and said, we've reviewed the entire case. We side with you yet again, Richard. So you don't have to repay that money. But we do think that you should give the person a little bit of money for the inconvenience on the days that they actually stayed. And I said, how much do you think that will be? Once again, he needed a few more days. And then he contacted me back 3 days later and said $625. And I said, that's fine, that's fair. I would have done that in the first place, but anything I offered this guest was unsatisfactory, so we went down the way that Airbnb decided to do it. And in the end, that's what happened. They're going to withhold $625 from me. And I asked the supervisor, is this the final situation? Can it be overturned again? If this person keeps calling in and gets a different person on the phone, can they overturn it? He said, no, now it's closed. They don't have systems and processes in place. I suggested to Airbnb that they need to formalize this. There needs to be a formal resolution and dispute, division, and there needs to be a way to appeal, and there needs to be closure, just like in our legal system, right? It's not willy-nilly. You can't make your mind up and change it and somebody else changes it. It's like, here's the decision, and then you can appeal it, and then if that doesn't work, then you can appeal it to the Supreme Court. But Airbnb hasn't put any of that in place, and it just seems crazy. Here it is, a multi-billion-dollar company going public, and their own customer service people can make decisions and overturn other people's decisions willy-nilly. So that didn't rub me the right way at all, and I let him know that. And so what are my conclusions? One, I implore you all to put all of your communication on the platform. Two, if you ever get into a situation like this, all of the calls are recorded. Make them listen to the recorded calls. And since you're communicating on a recorded line, know that you can put information in there that 6 months later when somebody's reviewing it is going to benefit you. So know that when you're communicating with the person on Airbnb that the call is recorded. And then the third thing was, I was scratching my head and saying, how come Airbnb is always siding with the guest? Why would they do that? We as hosts, it's our home and we let people in, and if we don't get paid, we're going to stop doing this. And if they have no homes and no hosts, they have no business. So why on earth would they always side with the guest? And then it struck me, well, the guest and the repeat business, so the lifetime value of a guest is very high. They want guests to book more and more frequently and say nice things. That's no surprise. But here's the thing that I think, like, the light bulb went off. At the end of the day, they don't care as much, in my opinion, about the hosts because they have more capacity than they need. What does that mean? Every single host I know on our Facebook group, on the YouTube comments, has vacancy. I don't know a single host that's operating at 100% occupancy every single day, every single month, every single year. So if you think about it for a second, if they have all these hosts all over the world and every single host has some vacancy, that's slack. They have built-in growth opportunities with the existing hosts. They don't necessarily need more hosts to come on the platform to grow their business. They do, however, need more guests to continue to book more frequently. So I'm not suggesting it's some big brother scheme or scam and that this has been articulated at Airbnb, but I do think they've had poor training, not consistent, growing very quickly. These are kind of like those adolescent teenager growing pains. And I think that they err on the side of the guest because instinctively they know that there's plenty of capacity with host vacancy. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you've had any experiences, and let me know how you would have handled this differently. But in the end, I'm keeping my listing online. I'm only out $625. Javier has told me this is the end all be all. It'll never be overturned. This is like definitive. No mas. It's over. Thank the Lord. Hallelujah. That was a pain in my butt. Took countless hours, and I won. And then it was turned over, and then I won again, and that's it. Please like the video, share, and I appreciate your time and energy. Have a great day.